Let's see, are we live? Are we live and direct? Do you struggle? I don't know. Oh, there we go. What's up, everybody? Make sure y'all can hear me. Live and direct. Do you struggle? Oops. All right, we're gonna wait for some folks to jump on here. First live with Gifted Hands Music, y'all. Hey, this is my first time on here doing a live thing, so bear with me, trying to get all the technicalities and stuff figured out. But appreciate y'all for jumping on here. I see we got a bunch of folks jumping on. Appreciate everybody for jumping on this live call today. Hey, let me know in the chat box. I want to see y'all. I want this to be super interactive. I want to talk with y'all. We're going to do a Q&A today. We're also going to be talking about how you can make $2,000 a month only working 2 days a week. Hey, this is no exaggeration. This is facts. I am doing it now. I've done it in the past. I know plenty of musicians. There's a bunch of musicians out here working 2 days a week, making $2,000 a month or more, way more than that as well. But appreciate y'all for joining. Everybody in the chat box, if you're on here, let me know with just a 1 in the chat box that you can hear me, or just say, hey, I can hear you. The audio is crystal clear. I just want to make sure you can hear the keys. You can hear my voice, all that good stuff, loud and clear. All right, great. Emmanuel said he can hear. Good. We got Winston on here. What's up, Winston? We got Emmanuel from Nigeria. What's up? Hey, I'm gonna be squinting here because my computer screen ain't that big and the text is kind of small. So if y'all see me staring real hard, I'm looking at y'all comments, okay? Mark said, what's up, bro? What's going on, Mark? Alfred is on here. Emmanuel, I already said that. Let's see, we got Steven, we got Jason. What's up, everybody? Who's that? I cannot even pronounce, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name. Rude Jerry, he said work online question mark. So we're talking about specifically the work that I'm talking about here is playing and performing music live. I'm gonna get into exactly like kind of what areas, kind of how you can apply it, but we're talking about playing. We're talking about performing in a live setting, in a live venue with the band, with artists, things like that. We're gonna get into the details real soon, but that's what we're talking about, how you can work and perform as a musician 2 days a week, make hopefully $2,000 a month, okay? So we got Josh from England. What's going on? Leviticus. Hey, I'm loving the turnout, yo. I'm loving it. Zathar, what's going on? We got a bunch of people. Cool. So everybody can hear me. Y'all can see me. I can see y'all comments. Everything's looking good and crispy. So let's dive into it. A little bit limited on time. I appreciate y'all for coming out, especially because we were supposed to originally do this at 4 p.m. Eastern, but I had some scheduling stuff going on today, so we pushed it back an hour just so I can still get on here with y'all. We can talk about making some money as a musician, which who doesn't want to make some money? And hopefully, if you're not making any money, you can start making money ASAP. And if you are making some money as a musician, then maybe you can increase your income as a musician, all right? And this is kind of all based around one of the programs that actually we have coming up starting February 15th, which is the 6-Figure Musician. It's a whole program dedicated to helping you become a high-earning musician. I want to teach musicians how they can make a living. Musicians don't have to be out here struggling. I've heard the stories of the struggling musician my whole life, grew up listening to them and believing them, but it doesn't have to be. Right? You don't have to be a struggling musician. You can be a high-earning musician. You can be a 6-figure musician making over $100,000 a year. You can make $80,000. You can make $60,000. Whatever you set your mind to, you can do. All right. So we're gonna be touching on some of those things that can help you become a high-earning musician today. And like I said, how you can make $2,000 a month working 2 days a week. Cool. So if y'all ready to go, y'all ready to jump into this training, just say let's go or I'm ready in the chat box so I know that we're good to get started. If everybody's ready, just say let's go, I'm ready. Give me something in the chat box. Jan said what's up. Brian, Alex, I see y'all. What's up? What's up? All right, cool. So let's do it. So how to make $2,000 a month or more, in quotations, working 2 days a week. All right. So in order to do this, all you need is really three things, right? You're going to need three things, and those are the three things that we're going to cover today. And those three things are going to be, you need skills. You need to be at a certain skill level as a musician to be able to make money, right? And so we're going to talk about the skills that you need to be able to find paid jobs, paid gigs as a musician, and then as well as the skills that you need to keep it, because it doesn't make sense to just get a gig and then do it once and then have nobody ever call you again because you're trash, for lack of a better word, or you completely miss the responsibilities that you had to fulfill to really accomplish the job and do it in excellence, right? So we're going to talk about the skills that you need to have to find jobs, to find work, and to keep work consistently, all right? Because what's the one thing that's better than getting paid once is getting paid multiple times. So we're going to talk about that. That's the first thing that you need is skills. The second thing that you're going to need is a network of musicians. You're going to need a network of people and resources that are going to help you to find this paid work. So after you get the skill set, right, then you need a network of people and of things that are going to be able to push you in the right direction of paid gigs, of work, of consistent playing opportunities, those things, right? So we're going to be talking about that, some resources that you can use, some ways that you can start building a network in order to find work, okay? So that's number two. And the third thing that you got to do is just take all the information that you're going to learn here today, take the information that you'll learn in the future, that you've learned in the past, and just put action to it. Like, do whatever it is that you write down, or do whatever it is that we talk about here. If you write down a plan here today and you're like, oh, wow, what you're talking about makes 100% sense, and I feel like this is something that I can do, that I can accomplish myself, then write down a plan and just follow through with it, A lot of y'all probably already have some of the information that you need to succeed, but maybe it's just that you're not following through with the information that you have, right? So the third thing you want to do is just put action to whatever it is that you say you're going to do, whatever you commit to, just do it and you'll see results, all right? So I see everybody's talking about let's go. Everybody's ready. Ave Muse is in the chat. My wifey is in the chat box as well. All right, so we got our three things that we're going to talk about, right? So let's dive into it. So there's two ways that I'm going to focus in on today when it comes to making this $2,000 a month, right? So we're talking about working 2 days a week, making $2,000 a month. There's two ways that we're going to focus in on. And those two ways are going to be, one, to find a church or a ministry that you can play at. We're talking about gospel music here at Gifted Hands Music mainly, right? We talk a little bit about jazz and neo-soul and all that other stuff, but mainly we focus in on gospel. So if you're a gospel musician, which majority of you probably are, that are on this call, if you can find a church, right, that's willing to pay you, and you have the skills to give them what they need, which is a great musical experience, then that's one way that you can easily make a couple $1,000s a month, right? 1 day of rehearsal a week, 1 day of playing at a service on Sundays, Saturdays, whenever that is. Or you don't even need to find one church. You can find multiple churches that are going to pay you, maybe $250 here. One church will pay you $250. Another church will pay you $250. You have to find two churches, one that has service on Saturday, one that has service on Sunday, each paying $250 a piece. You get your $500 a week, which adds up to be $2,000 a month, right? That's one thing that we're going to talk about. The second way that you can work 2 days a week and make about $2,000 a month is going to be by finding a band or a corporate gig, right? So there's corporate bands out here who play at weddings, big corporate events. They need musicians. They have constant work as well. That's the great thing. So if you find a corporate band or if you find corporate gigs to play for, you're in a band where you don't even need to find the gigs. You find the band, and most of the time, established corporate bands that have been around for a while have dates booked up for months and months, 6 months to a year in advance. And they pay well. You can get paid $500 for a show easily. If you do one show a week, or even, say maybe they do two shows a week, something like that, right? And they do 2 events a week. You're getting paid $300 or $400 per show, or $250 per show. That way you can make $500 or more a week. You working every week, 4 weeks out of the month, that's your $2,000, okay? So that's what we're gonna be talking about. Let me know, I kinda wanna get a feel for like where my audience is at, where everybody that's watching is at. So tell me in the chat box if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced musician. Let me know what skill level you're at and then how long you've been playing as well. Let me know in the chat box so I can kind of understand how to kind of cater the information. I want to make sure it makes sense to everybody. Cool? So just let me know. If you're a beginner, let me know, and how long you've been playing. If you're intermediate, you're like, hey, I'm an intermediate, I've been playing for about 5-6 years. Or if you're an advanced player and you're already cold and you're just trying to make some money, let me know in the chat box so I can get that info. And as y'all are dropping those in, I'm gonna dive into this, okay? So we got number one thing that we're gonna be talking about. Now that you know, all right, we can find a church to play at, working 2 days a week, or we can find a band or like a corporate gig to play at, right? Those are our two avenues that we're gonna use to work a couple days a week to make this money. So what do I need as a musician? What do I need to know personally so that I'm prepared for when these opportunities arise? Okay, so the first thing, you need skills. You gotta have specific skills. If you're gonna get paid as a musician, you have to be skilled as a musician. Not saying you have to be a virtuoso, not saying that you have to be the best musician in the world. I'm not even close to being an amazing musician, right? But you need certain skills to be able to find these gigs and keep them. Because really that's where the skills are gonna carry you. You're gonna keep gigs and you're gonna continue to get calls and people can continue to hit you up when they know that, oh man, this guy knows how to play, he learns music, he comes prepared, he or she is professional, like they just know how to do the job. When people have confidence that you can do the job, then you will constantly get work, right? I have musician friends that I've met years and years ago, and because I know that they are great at their instrument, I know that they are professional, they'll show up to gigs on time, I know that they know how to listen to music and play specific genres in the way that they're supposed to be played, I'll call them for the rest of my life or for as long as I'm playing music. Because if you know somebody that's qualified and they do the job well, why would you go search for somebody new? You don't. You use people that are in your network, right? So what skills do we need? Let me see. Let's see what everybody's saying in the chat. We got some intermediate folks. Hold on, let me look through here. Adair said beginner. Garen said intermediate. What is it? Who's that? Tammy, beginner. Raymond, intermediate. All right. Let's see. Steven said intermediate, 8 years, self-taught. Omore said beginner. Rod plays intermediate, 3 years. Wow. Okay, you moving fast. Jan, 15 years, Mississippi, intermediate. Okay. So mainly, looks like we got mostly beginner and intermediate folks. Couple advanced folks in the chat box. Okay, cool. Oh, also, before I get any farther, I'm going to be doing a Q&A at the end of the call. Cool, so if you got questions, I will 100% answer questions that are specifically related to whatever it is we're talking about in the moment. So if you have a question about something that I'm saying currently, drop it in the chat box. If it's something completely unrelated, I'll just save it till the end of the call. We're not gonna be on here for too long, maybe 45 minutes or so, and I'll answer it towards the end if it's just something completely different. But I still want to answer any other questions that you have as well, okay? So back into it. What are the skills that we need as musicians? New sounds that make this available for watching later on. Definitely, it will definitely be up and available for viewing later on. All right, so what are the skills that you need? This is gonna be very broad, very general, because depending on whether you play gospel, there's specific skills and specific nuances that you should know to play gospel. If you're playing in a corporate brands play like all different types of genre. You'll get Motown, you'll get funk, they'll play country, you'll play blues, they'll play jazz in corporate bands. Like you get every genre for more corporate events. So you have to have a more like well-rounded palette and skill set versus gospel is a little bit more specific, right? But I'm gonna give you a broad general approach, okay? So first thing, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but it needs to be said, right? You gotta be able to play in all 12 keys. That's probably the most frequent comment that I get here on the YouTube channel is just like, hey, what are some things that I can do? What are some exercises? What are some techniques? What are some tricks and tips that you got to help me play in all 12 keys? It's really simple, actually. It's really simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. all you have to do is practice a couple things. You want to practice exercises that are going to get you comfortable with playing in all 12 keys, right? So starting off with just basic scales. Starting off with scales in all 12 keys and specific exercises that I go over here all the time on Gifted Hands channel, like the diatonic chords, going over the cycle of fifths. There's other exercises that I give musicians like in our Gifted Hands Academy. Things like that, like diatonic exercise, cycle of fifths. If you can just do those, well, 3 things: major scales, diatonic exercise, and the cycle of fifths. If you can learn those in all 12 keys, you'll have a really solid base to be able to play in all 12 keys, right? But it just takes time. This is not something that's gonna come overnight. It's not something that's gonna even come in a week. Like, you gotta spend some dedicated time. If you spend a month, or if you spend a few weeks practicing, getting comfortable and fluid in all 12 keys, you'll see a huge difference. Don't just think that these skills are gonna come overnight. You gotta spend time with it, okay? So that's the first thing, playing in all 12 keys. So focusing on exercises and then also playing songs, like picking one song. So if, let's see, I don't even know, Total Praise. For some reason that just came to mind, right? So I think Total Praise is originally in D flat. Lord, I will live my hands or mine eyes to the hills. That song, right? Total Praise. Maybe you're trying to get comfortable with playing all 12 keys. You want to do stuff like, take songs like that, or any song really that's just challenging to you. Whatever skill level you're at, find a song that's challenging for you, that you are learning or that you already have in your repertoire, and learn in all 12 keys. So you can go in half steps, you can go in fifths, but you can take a song like that, be like, okay, what are some keys that I'm not comfortable in? E and A, for some reason for me, are just the hardest keys to visualize, right? And playing. So if those are keys that I'm not super comfortable in, I'm gonna learn songs that are gonna push me to get more comfortable in that key. So, Lord, I will lift my eyes to the hills. All right, so that's that song in E, right? So practice it in E, then maybe practice it, like I said, A is another like uncomfortable key for me, so I'm gonna practice it in A. So Lord, I will lift mine eyes to the hills. Right? So that's it in A. So you want to learn songs in all 12 keys. That's going to get you comfortable with playing in all 12 keys, okay? So, just looking through the comments, seeing what y'all saying. Cool. Okay, yeah, so that's one of the skills that that is essential when you're playing in church. When you're playing secular corporate gigs, you're going to have songs in every single key. There's songs written in all keys. So you can't get away with hitting the transpose button on gigs. I mean, some people do it, but I just don't suggest it. Like, you never know what could happen. You never know what type of keyboard setup you have. And then you just want to be as skilled as possible and as prepared as possible for whatever event that you're in, right? Maybe you're playing a gig with a acoustic piano. You can't be hitting no transpose button on the acoustic piano. So play it all 12, learn how to play in all 12 keys. All right. Another thing that you got to have, another skill set, is you need to understand how to learn songs quickly and memorize them quickly, okay? So this just goes to understanding song form, learning a song form, being able to memorize a song form, because like for corporate gigs, even churches, you get sent music last minute. I'm playing a gig tomorrow, and I think I got sent, I don't even know, it gotta be at least like 20, 30 songs on there. I got them like 2 days ago. So I got 3 days to learn, I don't know, 20, 30 songs. That's not a lot of time. That's 10 songs a day. You know, that's a lot of music to learn in a short amount of time. So when you start gigging, when you start playing out, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes you'll get music months in advance and you'll have plenty of time to prepare. But like, especially in the church realm, a lot of times you get music maximum a week. Normally 3-4 days you got to learn some songs, and they need to be learned and be performance ready in a 3 to 4 day time span. So understanding how to learn songs quickly, and that just comes by understanding the process of learning songs, right? So when you're learning a song, you want to learn the song form. Learn, is it intro, verse, chorus, second verse, chorus, bridge, vamp, out, whatever the song form is, right? I just made that up. But learning song forms is going to help you learn songs faster, and understanding song form is going to help you learn songs faster, okay? That's the second thing, a big skill that you need to have, all right? Third skill that you need to have is to be able to play the record. Play the record, learn how to play records, and learn how to play parts. What do I mean by playing the record? Playing the record just means learning the song exactly how it was played. So what happens is, like, when, as a beginner, even sometimes as intermediate, like when I first started playing gospel music, because I grew up playing classical music, right? And so when I first started playing gospel music, I was not used to playing stuff by ear. I usually had sheet music growing up, playing classical songs, right? And even like pop stuff, I was reading sheet music. So when I went over to gospel and had to learn stuff by ear and just had to memorize it quickly, I was lost, like completely lost, and was trash, 100% trash, right? I've gotten fired from churches because I was trash, all right? So I'm speaking to y'all today from experience and trying to help y'all so y'all don't have to get fired from gigs and deal with the negative side of things, right? But there's a process that will help you to learn songs quickly. And when it comes to learning records, right? When it comes to learning records, you can't, or like, not even you can't, but we tend to just find the simplest ways to play songs as beginners and intermediate players, because our understanding of music isn't at a level to even be able to understand what's going on, right? So if you're listening to a Stevie Wonder song or a Jonathan Nelson song or a whoever song, right? And they're playing chords that you've never seen. If they're playing this chord, right? In a Jonathan Nelson song, and you've never heard this chord, I've never played it before, it's gonna be hard for you to play the record the way it was because you don't know this chord, right? It's impossible to do something that you've never learned to do. So learning to play the record just means play the exact chords that are written or that were recorded in the song. Playing parts is a part of playing the record, especially as a keyboardist. If you're a keyboardist, in most situations, you're not just playing the piano. You might be playing a piano and pads, or you might be playing a piano and string parts. You might be playing piano and horn lines or synth lines, or whatever, some type of synth arpeggiator patch. There's different responsibilities and different parts and roles that we have to cover as a pianist when it comes to corporate gigs and when it comes to gospel gigs as well, right? So understanding how to play a record and understanding how to play parts, which includes sound design, programming sounds, all that stuff is crucial to being prepared for gigs, for paid gigs, and keeping them, right? All of these skills, the better you get at them, the more work that you'll get, the more that you'll be able to get paid, and the more calls that you'll get, okay? So let's look through the chat. What's everybody saying? Let's see. Emmanuel said secular gigs obviously pay more than gospel gigs. What do you think about gospel musicians playing secular for money? Oh, that's a good question. Emmanuel brought up a good question. He said secular gigs pay more than gospel gigs. What do you think about gospel musicians playing secular for money? So I mean, everybody has their own personal convictions, and I don't get too deep into the spiritual side of things here, like on the channel. But I would say, like, as a gospel musician, I'm a Christian, and as a Christian musician, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing secular gigs. But all secular gigs are not created equally, right? If you playing with the Baby, that's completely different than, say, maybe playing with Snow Allegra or playing with PJ Morton. Like, PJ Morton isn't specifically a gospel artist, right? I don't know what you might consider him, but he's not a strictly gospel artist, right? So I think there's ranges of secular gigs, right? And like, if you feel like your how do I say it? If you feel like whatever content that they're talking about in their music doesn't conflict with your personal lifestyle or with the commitment that you've made in your life, then by all means, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And even when it comes to secular gigs, it depends on what level of gig you're talking about. Because I play with like corporate bands, and they'll pay, you know, maybe $400 or $500 for a one-day show, right? For maybe we're playing at a wedding, and they'll pay $500 for 3 hours or 4 hours worth of playing. But there's churches who pay $1,000 to keyboardists for playing on Sunday, or pay $500 for playing on Sunday, or $750. Like, I think you can get paid well no matter what arena you're in. So I wouldn't say that all secular gigs pay more than gospel gigs. And like I said, but when it comes back to what you choose to do as a gospel musician, that's going to be on your personal convictions. But I don't think there's anything personally wrong with it. It just depends on the situation and the content of their music. Let's see what else we got, especially when the power goes. Let's see. Manuel said need a video on playing auxiliary keys. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that in the future. We're probably going to do more lives in the future. Kind of just wanted to test things out, see how they went today, see how the turnout was. So I'm loving the turnout that I'm seeing already. Cool. All right, so moving forward, I'll look at some questions as we kind of go through this training. So that's point number 1, is building skills, building the proper skills that you need to thrive and to keep the gigs that we're going to find in the future, right? So there's way more skills in this, but I'm just mentioning some of the general skills: being able to play in all 12 keys, being able to learn songs quickly, being able to play records, being able to play specific parts, which means programming sounds, being able to play multiple keyboards, maybe being able to play organ and keys, or being able to play an electric piano and keys, having stacked keyboards. All of that goes into your skill set and being qualified to get paid as a musician. Cool? So that's point number 1. Learning skills, constantly growing in your skill set so that you can charge more and so that you can keep more gigs. You can have continuity, right? So if you want to be able to just improve your skills, we got plenty of videos on the channel talking about that stuff, as well as I got other resources. Somebody mentioned playing aux keys and like sound design. I actually just did a live call. What was it? That was this month. That was earlier. The first Tuesday of every month, I do a live call in my academy, my Gifted Hands Academy. And this month we actually talked about learning parts and programming sounds for live shows, live performances. So definitely check out Gifted Hands Academy. We're talking about all of the skill set things that you need to get paid well as a musician. We talk about in the academy. Cool. But point number 2, all right? So point number 2 is going to be to build a network to find gigs, to find work as a musician. And so there's like 2 different ways that you should build a network. One way is you need to know and meet and network with musicians, other musicians, even like event coordinators, event planners, things like that. You want to have a network of other musicians that are gigging, that are playing at churches, that are playing out and about, that have a regular rotation of paying gigs. When you network with them and when you start meeting and talking with musicians who are already doing it, eventually opportunities will come up where they're like, oh, I need a keys player. If you know drummers, if you know bass players, even if you know other keyboard players. I have plenty of other keyboard players that I'm friends with, that I've been friends with for a minute, and they'll hit me up, yo, Elijah, I play for this church on Sunday, but I'm gonna be out of town, you know, or maybe I'm going on a tour or something, or I'm playing with this artist, and I'm not gonna be here for these 2 weeks. Can you fill in for me? That's literally what I've been doing for the last couple of months. I just moved to Dallas recently, and I don't even play anywhere consistently right now. We just joined a church. My wife and I joined the church last month, but I hadn't been playing anywhere consistently. I had just been filling in. And that came from knowing other musicians and just being connected to other musicians who had their ears to the ground and were aware of opportunities. So constantly try to just network and meet other musicians. And don't just meet other musicians to be a leech and to be like, yo, if you ever got a gig, let me know. And then don't ever reciprocate it. A healthy relationship is based off of reciprocation, right? So if you're gonna meet and you're gonna network, try to give as well. Don't just take. Try to give. And that doesn't have to be in you giving them gigs. It could just be, I don't know, maybe you play for free for a couple times, you know, with them if the situation requires it. Or maybe, I don't know what the situation is. Maybe somebody needs help with something in life that's not even about music, right? If they're an associate, if they're a friend, then help in whatever way you can. It doesn't even have to be just music specifically, right? You help someone in life, they are more apt to trying to return the favor later on in the future, right? So networking, finding other musicians. You can do this through jam sessions. You can do this by going to churches and just, even if you don't play at a church, go to a church where you like the music. And after service, go talk to the musicians and introduce yourself, right? Doing that. Jam sessions, we talked about that. Online, social media is a huge platform. Social media is probably the biggest way that you can network and market yourself now, right? So if you don't, like, if you're not promoting yourself online, if you're not posting videos, and this doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what level you're at, post something. Like, start building your own brand online. Start building your own network online by posting videos, posting yourself playing, posting yourself even practicing, right? Through doing that, you're gonna be able to meet and connect with other musicians where eventually opportunities will arise for you to play and get paid for playing, right? So you wanna do that as well. And then not only network with people, but get tapped into networks, mainly online, that are posting opportunities. There's tours, there's shows where record labels, where artists, where events are hosting auditions where they're putting their own bands together, right? And they post auditions online. Yo, we're looking for a 5-piece band. We're looking for guitarist, keys, bass, drums, sax, whatever it may be, right? We're looking for a band. And they post this stuff online. So there's networks and there's resources online where you can also find paid opportunities. So some of the places that you can look are gonna be Indeed even. Like, yo, I've found music director jobs on Indeed for churches. They post on Indeed. Facebook. I feel like every major city has, especially here in the States, I know everybody's not from the States, but especially here in the States, every major city that I've lived in the States has these communities, has these Facebook groups where musicians just get together and they talk about opportunities and they post opportunities, whether it be folks that play for churches that are looking for other musicians for their church or know about other opportunities, and they'll promote those opportunities in these Facebook groups, or whether it's like secular gigs or, like I said, corporate gigs type stuff where folks have other playing opportunities and they need musicians for. Facebook groups is a hidden gem, yo. I know right before I was living in Atlanta before I moved to Dallas last year, and so I was a part of like a couple different Facebook groups where they had like Facebook group. I think it was called like Atlanta Church Musicians or something like that, right? And there was people posting in there every single week, literally every week, about, hey, this church needs a drummer, this church needs a keyboardist, this church needs a bass player. These exist. You just gotta look for them and find them. So look at Facebook groups, even Craigslist, yo. Like if you're starting from scratch, you gotta look everywhere, right? Universities. I have a family member who just graduated from theology school, got their master's in theology. And at their university, they sent me a list of churches that were looking for music directors and musicians as well. This was a university. A university posted a list, especially since it was a school of theology. They were, teaching theology or whatever. They had a lot of connections with churches and ministries. And so they got a lot of opportunities about churches and ministries looking for musicians. Universities, another place that a lot of people wouldn't even think about. And then as well, what we've already mentioned, social networks, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok even, like more so for networking, not necessarily looking for specific opportunities, but just networking with other musicians. Cool. So that's number 2, building a network of people and of resources. People and resources is where you're gonna find your actual gigs, okay? And I would lean heavier towards people. Probably like, I would say 8 out of 10 of my personal opportunities for playing have come from people, not necessarily networks. I've gotten some opportunities, yes, from looking for auditions, for looking for paid opportunities. Even like when I left university early because I got hired for a cruise line, right, as a musician. And that opportunity is weird because it actually kind of was both. I had a friend who played trumpet that I was in a band with at the time, and he had done some fill-in work on ships for cruise lines, and I didn't even know this was a thing, right? He came back from a fill-in job, told me about it, told me he was making, I think like $100 a day or something. They were paying daily, right? And so he was making like $100 a day. So he told me about that at the time I was in school, and I was like, oh wow, that's a dope opportunity. Let me look into it. Found an agency that represents musicians, and hires out musicians for these different cruise lines. And the agency got me placed at a cruise line. I would have never known if it wasn't for the connection with the person, right? But then I went and did the research on my own and found the resource, which was the agency who actually had the connections to the cruise line. So like I said, you gotta have both. The people will point you in the right direction. The people will even bring you opportunities. But then you also have resources as well that can be helpful. Cool? So that's number 2. Francis, my boy Francis on here. What's up, family? How many hours a day should one practice? I'm gonna answer some questions before we move on. So, Ja KR Music said, how many hours a day should you practice? I don't put a number on it, honestly, and I think the times in my life where I've seen the most improvement on the piano, I wasn't counting hours. Honestly, like, you'll get to a point when you really love music where you can just zone out and play all day. When you just sit down and play your instrument and you love it so much where you're not looking like, dang, okay, I just practiced an hour and a half. Like, I'm gonna do 30 minutes and then I'll be done for the day. Like, nah, don't do that. Like, just play until you can't play anymore. Now, like I feel like a general theme that I've seen is like, if you wanna see huge differences in your playing, practice 4 to 8 hours a day. If you can practice from 4 to 8 hours a day consistently, you're gonna see some crazy growth, right? If you have a plan, if you have a path to know what to practice and you're spending 4 to 8 hours every day or even 5 days a week, there's no way you're not gonna improve. Cool? So yeah, that's kind of a general suggestion. If you're practicing an hour a day, you're not gonna get to a professional level. It's just not gonna work. Even 2 hours a day, like, nah, it ain't gonna work, yo. You gotta put in hours. If you wanna be a musician, like live the musician life, play as much as possible. Now, granted, like when I'm sitting down, practicing, learning new music, whatever, I found like that what works best for me personally is like I can do between an hour and a half and 2 hour sessions at a time. So like most time if I'm playing for 2 hours straight, I just need a mental break. I'm tired or I'm hungry or I'm thirsty. I need some water, some juice, some Kool-Aid, something, right? So I'll practice for a couple hours and then take a break. I just do. And if I don't have anything to do, I'll take maybe 15, 20-minute break, come back, do another hour and a half to 2 hours. That's what works best for me. So I find like I can do 2 hours, let's say 2 hours in the morning, break, another 2 hours, break, another 2 hours here, break, another 2 hours at night. If I do 4 2-hour sessions, that's 2, 4, 6, that's 8 hours a day, right? So that's kind of what's worked best in my own personal life. But you just got to figure out what's going to work best for you, for your situation, for your schedule, if you're working a job or if you're going to school or if you got other responsibilities. Some people got families. I don't know what your situation is, but yeah, just figure out what works best for you. But don't even count the hours. Like, you should be playing so long you lose track of how many hours you've been playing. All right. Jonathan said just got here and spitting already. All right, cool. So I'll jump into some more questions a little bit later. We got our first point and our second point, right? First thing you need to do to be able to make money as a musician, to be able to work 2 days a week and make about $2,000 a month or more is hone your skill set. Learn specific skills that are gonna make you hireable and that are gonna allow you to keep jobs, right? Point number 2 is build a network. Start meeting musicians and looking for resources where opportunities will come to you or where you'll be able to see when opportunities arise and you can apply for those opportunities. You can audition for those opportunities, okay? Point number 3, finally, is just action. You gotta take action. Real simple. Take the things that we've talked about here today and actually do them. Don't just think about it. One of the things that I'm guilty of and I see a lot of folks online doing is like they'll spend hours and hours a day looking at other musicians, other music videos of people playing, but they won't actually play their own instrument. Or they'll like, how you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours looking at other musicians play and you spend 30 minutes playing your own instrument. Like, you can't learn, you can only learn so much by osmosis. Like, you watching other folks is only gonna take you so far. You gotta sit down on your instrument and play and practice if you wanna improve your skills. That's all it is. No matter how many Mike Burrell, Corey Henry videos you watch, it ain't gonna make you better. You gotta sit down, right? And learn this stuff. Like, watch it and learn it, okay? And play it. Put action to it. So continuously get a practice schedule in if you need to. If you're a person who has a lot going on, maybe you do need to schedule in practice time. Be like, hey, I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. If you really want to wake up at 6 a.m., from 6 to 8, I'm gonna practice every day before I go to school or before I go to work or whatever, right? at night, I'm gonna practice from 7 to 9 before I go to bed, right? And this may mean making a little bit of sacrifice. Maybe you can't watch the new show. You can't watch Ozark or whatever show is up on TV at the moment, right? You got to cut out TV or whatever the sacrifice may be that you need to make. Find time to improve your skills, to improve and get better in your craft, all right? And then always look for opportunities to grow as well. Like I said, if a lot of times, if you're not at the skill that you want to be, or if you feel like you need more experience, you need to meet more people in order to find better quality opportunities, better quality work, higher paying work. Sometimes you do need experience. And I hate saying this because this is like such a touchy subject, but I've played for free many, many times in my life. I've played for free. And I've learned a lot in those situations where I've played for free. Not saying that you have to. If you don't want to and you don't believe in that, like, don't by any means. I'm not saying that it's a requirement. What I'm saying is sometimes in playing for free, you open doors that may not have been open for you, right? So look for opportunities to play jam sessions, other churches, whatever, that are gonna allow you to grow as well, right? And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I got for you. If you wanna make $2,000 a month, working 2 days a week, the plan is find a band or a church, right, that can pay you $500 a week, or find multiple playing opportunities that add up to $500 a week. That's it, $500 a week. Like I said, you can find a corporate gig that'll pay you $400 or $500 for a wedding, for wedding gigs, for corporate gigs, whatever. You can find a church that'll pay $500 for musicians every Sunday. Or, like I said, if maybe that's a stretch, then find 2 churches that'll pay $200, $250 per service, right? Or per church. You find a church with an early morning service. Maybe you find a Seventh-day Adventist church that has Saturday service, or you find a church that has a later afternoon service that's willing to pay, right? And you normally will have one day of rehearsal during the week, and then you got 1 day of actually playing. Same thing for churches, for gigs as well. 1 day rehearsal, normally 1 day of performance is 2 days a week. You can be making $1,000, $2,000, even more, thousands of dollars every month. Cool. So if you want more information just on just other opportunities as well to make money as a musician, this is not the only way to make money as a musician. I'm sure a lot of y'all in the chat box produce. I'm sure a lot of y'all write music, compose music. Maybe some of y'all do arrangements, right? Maybe you're a vocal arranger. There's so many different avenues and things to do as a musician. This is not the only way to make money. I just kind of wanted to talk briefly about one way that you can make some money, right? So what I've done is created a program, actually, and it's called the 6-Figure Musician Program, that is going to teach you all of the different avenues that you can make money. And then I'm gonna go into detail on the skills that you need. And I'm gonna actually teach you the skills. I'm not just gonna talk about them. We don't have enough time to go in depth here today, but in this program, I'm gonna teach you specific skills when it comes to sound design, right? When it comes to leading bands, when it comes to teaching vocal parts, when it comes to learning the music, when it comes to learning how to play parts, all that stuff. If you want to learn the specific step-by-step skills that you need to really monetize your craft, to make money, to make a living as a musician, check out the 6-Figure Musician Program. Hey, I see somebody said, who's it? Josh said he got a composer. He's a composer, he's in the house. But yeah, if you want to learn how to monetize your skills as a musician and make a living, become a high earning musician, I've created the 6-Figure Musician Program. It's an 8-week, not in person, but a virtual group coaching program where I'm gonna be jumping on. There's only 15 people in the program. We only have a few slots available. It starts February 15th, but I'm gonna be doing weekly teachings on how to monetize your skills as a musician. And I'm gonna be teaching you the specific skills that you need to make a living as a musician and eventually make 6 figures as a musician if that's what you want to do. And even if that's not what you want, even if you want to make a little part-time living, right? If you're making $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year. That's good for 2 days a week, right? That's decent. I'm sure you can pay some bills with $2,000 a month. Most people's rent ain't even $2,000 a month. So you can do a lot even with a part-time income as a musician. So if you want to make part-time or full-time income as a musician, check out 6-Figure Musician. I'm going to drop the link in the chat box on so you can sign up for more information on the program. It's in the chat box. So definitely check that out. I have more details on the information page about the Six Figure Musician, what all is included in that. Now we got the fun stuff. Cool? Q&A. So we got, I'm doing good on time. So we got about 15 minutes left. If y'all have questions, I know I probably missed some questions since the beginning of the call. Just drop them again in the chat box if you got questions, and we can spend the next 15 minutes or so talking, and I can answer some of your questions. So let me know. My boy Francis is here. What's going on, man? My Canadians are in the building. Pastor, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. All right, I'm looking through these questions right now. All right, so Jason dropped a question. Jason Holmes said, I love learning how to play gospel, neo soul, and jazz. Could you suggest any other genres that I could research and practice to expand my knowledge? Not interested in pop or rock or anything like that. Yeah, Jason, so you said you're interested in learning gospel, neo soul, and jazz. I don't think you need any other genres, bro. Like, I mean, honestly, like jazz by itself is so all-encompassing. There's such depth when it comes to like jazz theory, understanding jazz songs. Like you can study jazz for a lifetime and not have it all. So I mean, if you're learning gospel, and the same thing could be said for gospel. Like gospel is so in depth. There's so many different styles when you're talking about like regionally, like West Coast, especially for the States, like West Coast gospel has a different sound than East Coast gospel. And then like even if we're talking about like time frames, time periods, modern day gospel sounds completely different than gospel from the 80s and the 90s, which sounded different from the gospel that came out in the 60s and the 70s. So I think like gospel and jazz, if you just spend the time going deeper in gospel and jazz, you don't need to look anywhere else. Unless you're just gonna learn like classical. I mean, I think classical music is amazing for a technical foundation. Like if you grew up playing classical music, I think like you have to have amazing technique to play classical music. So classical musicians are some of the most technically sound musicians in the world, are probably the most technically sound musicians in the world. But for harmony and for feel, and I think just for that sound, I love gospel and jazz. So yeah, you don't really need anything else as far as just like studying wise. Because if you can play jazz, you can pretty much play anything. If you can play gospel, you can play most genres. Like gospel has rock, pop, R&B, blues, jazz. It has all that mixed into it. So you learn gospel songs and you learn in all the other genres, right? All right, so Stephen Tate said, would you recommend the Six Figure Musician program to an intermediate player? Definitely. For intermediate, the Six Figure Musician program is more so for intermediate to advanced players. It's an application-based program, so you're gonna have to put in an application to apply for the program. I'm not taking everybody. I want to make sure that I'm able to help the people that are in the program immediately, right? So if you're a beginner musician, there's some things that you can probably work on before you even get into the Six Figure Musician program. There's steps, right? So as an intermediate, as an advanced player, you're probably more ready to monetize your skills today or right now. So yeah, Six Figure Musician, definitely. If you're an intermediate, even late beginners, like if you're pushing towards that intermediate level, then it could work for you as well. Like I said, if you follow the link that I posted, it'll take you to our information page. If you want to apply, you can click the link and it'll take you to the application. You can fill out the application. I'm doing one-on-one calls, discovery calls with everybody who applies for the Six Figure Musician program, because I just want to make sure that you're a good fit for the program and that I'm a good fit for you and I can help you accomplish your goals and actually help you make money, make a living as a musician. Cool. So it's an application-based program. I do a discovery call, like an interview, one-on-one call with you after you apply for the program. And that's free to apply, free for the call, all that good stuff. Okay. So let's see what else we got here. I'm laughing because one of these questions. All right, Matt Baden, this is one of my brothers, man. He said, "Can you speak more on being professional?" Matt, that is an amazing question, and I'm laughing because we've played many gigs together, and we've experienced unprofessionalism. That's all I'm gonna say, right? So he's no shade though. So being professional, what does being professional mean as a musician? I'm gonna make it quick because I could talk about this for days. But being professional as a musician, one, bare necessity, just show up on time. Like show up to whatever gig, rehearsal, show that you have on time. If somebody says, yo, a call time for sound check is at 6 a.m., I don't care if you don't want to wake up early, or if you're not a morning person, or if you even went to bed at 3 a.m. If the call time is at 6 a.m. and you have to be at a venue at 6 a.m., then show up at 5:45. Be there early. Don't ever have anybody waiting on you and you being the last person to show up to a call, or showing up to a show or to a rehearsal, right? And then even like for rehearsals. So let's say you have a rehearsal scheduled for 7 p.m., right? If you have a rehearsal at 7, show up early so you have enough time to set up. Because as you get higher and higher in your career and in your skills, and as you start playing with bigger acts, rehearsals, like our rehearsal start times mean we start playing music at that time. So if rehearsal starts at 7, that means we start playing songs at 7. Not you show up and you're in the parking lot getting out your car at 7, you walk inside, you take 15, 20 minutes to set up, and then you're ready at 7:25, 7:30. No. Rehearsal means we start playing at 7, which means you show up at 6:15, 6:30, however long it takes. If it takes you 30 minutes to set up your keys, to set up your sounds, to set up your laptop, whatever it is you need to set up, then you got to get there with enough time so that you can start at the time, whatever it means, whatever time that is that y'all set to rehearse. Cool. So that's one. And then other things, just come prepared. So rehearsals are to practice the music as a band, not to learn music at rehearsal. You should never be learning songs, never be learning music, learning parts at a rehearsal. If you're learning the songs at rehearsal, you're unprepared and you're not ready. All right, so learning songs, which means song form, which means arrangements, which means even like sounds, like having an idea, especially for keyboardists. If you're playing aux, what are the aux parts that you're playing? What are the sounds that you're using? What are the patches that you're going to use? All that type of stuff is a part of preparation, and everybody's preparation process is a little bit different. I go into that in the academy on specifically like for pianists, how to prepare and how to be ready for a rehearsal or for a gig or for a show or for whatever it is. But it's a little different for everybody, but coming prepared with the music, learned, and not having anybody waiting on you. Appreciate the question, homie. Let's see, Jim said, how are you supposed to practice 4 to 8 hours a day when you have a job like financial analyst or chemical engineer? Now, that's a good question, Jim. That's definitely a good question. So a couple years ago, I was living in Toronto. My wife is Canadian, and I was living, well, not in Toronto, NC, but in the Toronto area, right? GTA, Greater Toronto Area. And at the time, I just moved there and was looking for a regular job, wasn't really gigging, didn't know anybody, and just needed to do something for work. So I found a random construction job, right? And was working in, they have like a CFL, Canadian Football League. I was working in a football arena doing some construction work. Random as heck, right? Just because my family needed some money, had to make some money, so took this job. I still was gigging somewhat, was looking for churches, still wanted to continue to improve myself. So if, let's say, if you have to be at work at 8 o'clock, right? It takes you an hour to get ready. Maybe if this is really what you want to do, because if it's not what you want to do, then don't make any sacrifices and don't do it. But if this is really something that you want to commit to, then maybe you need to wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. and practice for an hour or two, right? Before you get ready to go to work. Right now, every single day, I wake up at 5 a.m. now. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. Why? Because now I have a son. I have a 3-year-old son. I have a wife. I have responsibilities. I have to take my son to daycare in the morning, right? So if I got to get him ready at 8:30 in the morning, and I have music to learn for a show, I wake up at 5, so and then I can, have some personal time. I do prayer and devotion, whatever in the morning. But then I can practice from 6 to 8. I can get 2 hours of practice in the morning before my son even wakes up. He wakes up around 8:30. So if I wake up at 5, I can go work out, right? Do whatever I need to do from 5 to 6, 6 to 8. I can practice for 2 hours, right? Similar thing. Maybe you get home in the afternoon. You find some time in the afternoon as well. Find a 2-hour time slot. in the afternoon where you can practice. Most people watch TV. Most people are on social media for hours and hours a day. Most people play video, like a lot of people play video games. Like there's time in your schedule. The things that we want to do, we can find time in our schedule. So it might mean substituting out something that you enjoy for something else that you enjoy. If you enjoy music, then do that instead of watching TV, or play music instead of playing video games. Or maybe like instead of cooking dinner, you eat out, you order food. So and then you don't have to spend an hour every day cooking, or you don't have to spend an hour cooking and cleaning up. Like there's always things that we can substitute in our schedule to find time for the things that we really care about. So it's just about juggling it. And I don't know your specific situation, what your hours are when you work, but you can definitely find time. So let's see. Raymond said, should I follow bass or melody when learning songs by ear? Should you follow bass or melody? That's a good question. I mean, I kind of follow both. So, I mean, you want to learn a melody. Usually, if you're learning a song, you want to know the melody, right? So you can do them both independently. When you're learning a song, learn the melody and learn it by itself, right? If you're just learning a song, we were talking about, what song was that? Total Praise. Lord, I will lift mine eyes to the hills. If we're learning the melody, learn the melody by itself. And then when it comes to learning the chord progressions, that's when you kind of switch modes and you want to listen to the bass notes. The bass notes are going to tell you what the chord is, right? It's going to tell you the root of the chord. So you want to learn both, honestly. Learn the melody by itself and then listen to the bass line to tell you what chords are going on, right? If a song is in the key of D flat and you hear an F in the bass, it's probably most likely some type of F chord, right? Whether it be F minor, F dominant, F half diminished. It's gonna be some type of F chord that's probably being played, or even if it's like a slash chord, where they're playing something in the right over F. F is still gonna be your bass, right? Your root note, so it's built off of an F. So definitely, you want to do both. But good question. DJ said, "Wow, Fender Rhodes, 2 man, I'm listening." Yeah, this needs some tuning, man. The Fender Rhodes needs some tuning. Let's see. Jan said, OMG, I've been dealing with a group recently who are all late all the time, and I seem hysterical because I make a big deal out of it. Yeah, Jan, if you're dealing with folks that are late, that ain't coming prepared, fire them, bro. Start over. Start from scratch, man. I'm all about finding folks who want to work and who want to be excellent. Like something that I believe in wholeheartedly is just doing everything in excellence, right? And when you do things in excellence, it sounds better and you have longevity. So if you're dealing with folks that don't want to do things in excellence, fire them. Start from scratch. Find a new band. Find new musicians. There's too many musicians out here to be dealing with half-stepping folks. Let's see. Brandon said, what do you do to become a better pianist? What should a beginner work on? Great question, Brandon. So in my academy, I have a pathway for musicians, no matter what experience level you're on. It kind of goes over the theory things that you need to know and the technical things that you should have learned as a beginner pianist. It has an intermediate, as an intermediate musician, it has the things that you should know, right? As an advanced musician, here's the things that you need. So if you really want step-by-step plan on what to do, and then also specific lessons on each thing that you need, check out the academy. But for beginners, scales, your basic scales, major and minor scales, basic chord qualities, like basic seventh chords. So major seventh chords, minor seventh chords, dominant seventh chords, half diminished and fully diminished. Those are your 5 types of seventh chords. Learning those in from every key. So doing that, major, dominant, minor, half diminished, fully diminished. Being able to do that in all 12 keys. Basic progressions like your diatonic chords. Every major key has 7 diatonic chords, so knowing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knowing your basic diatonic chords, stuff like that. Cycle of fifths. 2, 5, 1, 4. 7-3-6. Stuff like that is, I mean, and not in the way that I'm playing it, but root position, basic 7 chords. 2-5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. All right. So, and like I said, for the people that need if you don't know what to do next, if you don't know what to learn, then definitely check out some of our resources that we have on our website, Gifted Hands Academy, Gospel Keys, Masterclass. If you're looking for what specifically, like how do I improve my skills, check those out. If you feel like your skills are at a good place and you want to know how to make money right now as a musician, Six-Figure Musician Program is for you. Cool. Check both of those out. How would you balance the sleep schedule of waking up early and playing late gigs though? I mean, hey, Jan, so you don't play gigs every night. Now, I'm not playing gigs every night. Usually I'm playing once or twice a week. So even if you're playing late, even if you have like a 9 to 11 show, 10 to midnight show, like it's twice a week. You'd be all right. Like take a nap during the day. You'd be okay. Whereas you can wake up early, 5, 6 a.m., get some early practice in, right? Go to sleep early though. The days that you're not gigging, go to sleep at 10. If you're trying to wake up at 5 or 6, you got to go to bed early. You can't go to bed at midnight and try to wake up early to improve yourself. All right. So I'm gonna do 3 more questions. All right. So it's 6 o'clock Eastern. So we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna do 3 more questions. Cool. So let's see. How do you become a better pianist? What should a beginner work on? Answer that. How do you leave a church that has had you employed for a good while, but they've been underpaying, and another church offered double what I'm making without seeming like you're after money? That's a good question, Malcolm. How do you leave a church that has had you employed for a while, but they're underpaying you? So exactly what you just told me, I would sit down with whoever's responsible, whether it be the pastor, whether they have a financial department, whether it be worship pastor, whoever, just be transparent with them and explain the situation. Hey, especially if you love playing there. I love playing here. I love being a part of the ministry. But if you do this full time, or if you have financial responsibilities, there's nothing wrong with saying that, right? Like I have a family. I have a wife. I have a son. I have a house that I got to pay for. I got bills. So I have no problem telling people that I need to get paid for my craft. At this point in life, I have no issues with it. And if somebody don't want to pay, great. You can find somebody else who is willing to work for free at this point, right? But with your situation, just tell them, hey, I feel like I'm valued at this amount of money for a service, right? And I have proof because there's another church that's offering me, say, $400 a week, right? Tell them, don't keep the information hidden. Tell them, hey, I have another offer that's $400 a week. I would love to stay here. Can y'all match or beat that offer? If you can, great. I'm willing to, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm willing to add things, whether it be teaching parts, whether it be playing, building out recording stems, whether it be running backing tracks, whatever it is. Be like, I'm willing to pour into the ministry to make the experience, the worship experience better, right? But I need y'all to be willing to pour into me as well. If they're willing to, then great. Y'all can agree on a new price. If they're not, hey, take your talents down to South Beach or wherever it may be. You know what I'm saying? But just have that conversation, have transparency, be open with them. All right, 2 more questions. Let's see. Do you think bands will let a beginner shadow a band practice? Christopher Wallace, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, and that's one of those situations where it's like you might not get paid for every opportunity, right? Sometimes if we need to grow and learn things as a musician, maybe you just sit in. And there's plenty of churches out here who they'll just let a musician come in and sit in and practice to see how do they run their rehearsals? How do they come prepared? What does coming prepared mean? Definitely, that's a great idea, actually. That's a gem right there. If you're willing to sit in and look for other bands who are better or who are more skilled, who are at a higher skill level, and sit in with them, this means you spending some of your time, yeah, and not getting paid for it, but you're learning, right? So definitely, that's a great idea. Ask other bands, ask other churches if you can sit in at their rehearsals, sit in at their services, and just soak in, be a sponge, soak in information. That's fire. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Have you seen many travel acoustic guitarists? Okay, so I got 2 more questions here, and then that's it. What's your take on ear training as a route to next level playing? Says Doris Walker. What's going on, Doris? So ear training is definitely one of those essential skills that you need, especially when it comes to like the things that we talked about playing in churches, especially for gospel musicians, especially when it comes, even for like corporate gigs. There's, even if you can find sheet music for songs, a lot of gospel songs and even corporate music, funk, Motown stuff, they're not gonna have every single part written out. Right, so for gospel songs, let's say you're playing keys and you gotta play aux, so you're playing aux lines. You might be able to find a sheet music for the keys part, but what happens if you gotta play auxiliary lines, like there's synth lines or something? That might not be written out on sheet music, right? So you have to use your ear to pick out aux lines, to pick out horn lines, to pick out runs, riffs, licks, like, and then sometimes too, like, there's a certain feel that you get when you play stuff by ear that you just don't get from reading the music. I remember a couple years ago, I was transcribing some Oscar Peterson stuff. I think it was his Night Train album. And there's just so much inflections and things that he does musically that is hard to notate that you just gotta listen to and hear, right? And that only comes from training your ear. So ear training is a huge part of improving. Even when it comes to like being able to communicate musically with the band as you're playing live. If you're playing with musicians in a church setting and a bass player plays a riff, if you have a trained ear, you can hear and recognize what the bass player did, and maybe you respond by repeating the riff that he did, or maybe you like do some type of like iteration of that riff. You communicate when you're playing with other musicians, or maybe you hear the drummer play some type of rhythmic feel, right? And you copy that rhythmic feel, but you put notes to it, right? And you make a lick out of it. So by training your ear, you're gonna be able to hear stuff live, and then as well as be more prepared when it comes to learning music for gigs. So definitely with ear training, I have a whole series in the Academy on ear training that you can check out, where we talk about like chord recognition, being able to hear a chord, know what chord is being played, single note recognition, melody recognition, being able to hear melody lines, interval recognition, being able to hear, oh, this interval is a tritone, okay. This interval is a major seventh. This interval is a sixth, or whatever it may be, right? Being able to hear intervals. This is a minor second, or like a half step, right? This is a whole step. Being able to hear intervals. All of that is a crucial part of training your ear. And there's apps as well out there. I know one of my good friends, Michael Pittman, he showed me some apps a couple weeks ago, which I don't remember the names of them, but maybe I'll post on Instagram or something about them. But yeah, just look on the App Store even for ear training apps for musicians. Those are available to you as well. 2 years, how much did I miss? All right, last question. Cleveland said, have you seen many travel acoustic guitarists in opportunities you pursued? I try to apply your concepts to my own instrument just to learn piano for understanding. Yeah, good question. So have I seen travel acoustic guitarists? So I mean, most guitarists I know just play acoustic and electric. They don't just play acoustic. And so I think like the hardest musicians to find in my experience when it comes to gospel is guitarists. It's hard to find good gospel guitarists. There's a million gospel drummers. There's a million gospel piano players. And then all the gospel piano players and drummers try to go and play bass too. So there's a good amount of bass players. And just my personal experience of like trying to put bands together and things like that, it's harder to find a good gospel guitarist. And so in most cities, I be seeing 2 or 3 gospel guitarists play everywhere, get all of the recording work. I was literally just talking with one of my friends who's on this call about that a couple days ago. We were talking about how like in Toronto, there's 2 or 3 good gospel guitarists who literally do a bunch of live recordings. Like most of the live recordings had the same gospel guitars on it. So there are opportunities, definitely. There's a need for gospel guitars. And I think if you're good at your instrument, it would probably be easier for you to stand out and to get more work just because there's not as much competition. So there's definitely work for acoustic guitars, yes, but you should be able to play both. Definitely, like, I mean, I don't know what you do exactly, but definitely get code on acoustic and electric, and there's ample work and opportunities. And then don't just like, I would say to learn multiple genres, because you want to be as versatile as possible. So especially if you're a gigging musician, the more that you can play stylistically, the more different genres or the different genres that you can play, the more work that you're able to take, right? So if you can play pop, if you can play blues, if you can play country, two things. If you can play all these different genres, it's gonna make you more skilled, and it's gonna give you a wider pool of work to have, right? And then the second thing is, I found the more influences you have, whether that be neo soul, whether it be jazz, whether it be gospel, whether it be country, whether it be blues, the more of a unique sound that you have. If you're just playing gospel guitar, you're probably gonna sound like a replica of a couple guitarists, right? But if you know jazz guitar, if you know gospel guitar, if you know blues, if you're listening to like Guthrie Govan, I love Guthrie Govan, right? And he's like a fusion guitar player. If you're listening to, what's his name? Stevie Ray, his stuff. If you're listening to Steve Vai, I don't know. If you're listening to whoever, if you're listening to guitarists in multiple genres, and this works for keyboardists, guitarists, drummers, whoever, whatever instrument you play. When you learn from multiple genres and you incorporate all of those ideas and those sounds into your playing, you create your own unique sound. And even if you play one specific genre, if you play gospel, but you're bringing in those jazz influences, you're bringing in those rock influences, if you're bringing in those fusion influences, like, people are going to be more attracted to you because you have a unique sound for yourself. Yep, hey, Cal said it. Learning guitar can be, or finding a good guitarist can be a struggle. Yep. All right, cool. So that is it. That's all we got time for today. I wish I could stay on here for 8 hours with y'all. But what we're going to do is I'm going to have another live call. Let me check my calendar to see when this live call is, just to make sure I'm giving y'all the right date. So this call is going to be, I believe, February 3rd. So next Thursday. All right, next Thursday, we're going to do another live call. Cool? So if you enjoyed this, I hope you did. We're going to be doing another live call next Thursday. I'm not going to set the time right now, but we'll post on YouTube, on our social media. So make sure you're connected with us on Instagram. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube so you get notifications on when we're doing it. But next Thursday, we're doing a live call. And yeah, we'll do another Q&A as well. I can answer more questions, spend some more time with y'all, chopping it up, and we can just have conversations. It's definitely going to be geared at helping musicians make money, okay? So I'll release the topic a little bit later on, but we're going to be talking about some skills, some strategies that you need to make money as a musician. Cool? So definitely put that on the calendar for next week. Please, if you're an intermediate to an advanced musician and you want to monetize your skills and become a high-earning musician, if you want to make a living, if you want to make part-time living, if you want to make full-time income as a musician, check out Six Figure Musician. This program is exactly for you. I want to help you make a good living, a high income as a musician, and that is exactly why I created the Six Figure Musician program. So check that out. I'll drop the link one more time in the chat box right here for y'all. So check that out. Other than that, appreciate y'all for coming out. I love the just how interactive everybody was, all of the comments, everybody in the chat box. Love it. So we might have to start doing this on the regular, Love the turnout. So if y'all want to see more lives on a regular, just drop some comments on the channel. Let us know, reach out, and let us know what you would like to see some topics on, what you want to see covered for these live calls, things that y'all need help with. All right, that's what we're here for. Here at Gifted Hands Music, we want to help gospel musicians learn the skills that they need to confidently pursue a career as a musician, right? So whatever falls under that umbrella, we're here for it. So just let us know. Cool? Love y'all.